Let's talk about Cartesi. Maybe explain to us kind of the problem that you saw that led to the development of Cartesi, and then let's get into Cartesi and how it solves that problem.
So the idea behind Cartesi, we're trying to do as an industry, we're trying to do decentralized compute, right? That's basically what we're trying to do. And then it turns out, if you looked at blockchain, the industry in general, 5 years ago, and also if you look at it now, we are losing the computing part. So we did a very good job at having the decentralized aspect of it, but the computing in the sense of computing power, scalability, expressivity, all of that was lost, which turns out in turn we only have like simple applications to play around with. We have a very limited environment to do the computing. And that's what we tried to solve, right? So we focused since the beginning in creating an execution environment that was scalable, was powerful, that was expressive. And now, 5 years later, 6 years later, we have what I think, and I could argue this with anyone, it's the best execution environment for blockchains. And I can explain why I can safely say it's the best. But that was the idea, was to get computing back to decentralized computing. So you can have like real applications. Real is a bad word, but so you can have like complex, intricate applications in Web3 as well, and not be only limited by very simple things.
Got it. Now, from a technical perspective, it's so I'm reading from the website Linux-powered rollups, the simple way to build in Web3. Tell us about the Linux part and why that's important.
Sure. So this is a little bit on the concept of bringing the computing back. So the entire internet was built for Linux, right? Everything
Mhm.
that all applications that you run, they assume that under what they're running, there's a operating system, usually Linux. So when you use libraries, coding and you import a library, that library assumes that there's a file system and a memory management system, and so on and so forth. So the idea is that by having Linux running on your execution environment, that extends to you the capacity to use software that was made for Web 2. So when I talk about Cartesi, I like to use the concept of backwards compatibility and
Mhm.
forward compatibility, right? So what we're trying to do is to bridge all the code, open source code that was written for Web 2 and bridge that into Web 3. And Linux is what makes that possible.